Welcome back to Female Founder World. It's Jasmine here. I'm the host of the show, and I have a really interesting episode. We've got Kathryn Winokur on the show today. She's the founder and CEO of Hally Hair. What I really zero in on, because I've been trying to find someone to come on Female Founder World for so long to talk about this, and finally I was able to find the perfect person to talk to you guys about it. And I'm speaking specifically of gaming, so Roblox, Twitch influencers, like how to leverage this space to use it as a marketing channel, and specifically like the overlap between gamers and personal care and fashion, and how it's such an untapped opportunity, especially when we're all going after the same like TikTok trends, the same Instagram influencers, the same press outlets. Thinking a little bit outside the box and going into this gaming space, I think has a lot of opportunity. Anyway, what Kathryn's doing is really cool. She's very clever, very innovative, and I hope you guys love this show. Don't forget to drop us a 5-star review. I know there are a bunch of you listening who are enjoying the show but haven't left us a review yet, and make today the day that you do it, because it really helps us to reach new audiences, helps me to find partners and sponsors for the show, and that means that I can make more episodes, more newsletters, more of the good stuff that you guys enjoy. All right, let's get into it.
You are now entering Female Founder World with your host, Jasmine Garnsworthy.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Jasmine.
So for folks who don't know Hally Hair, can you introduce us to what you're building over there?
Sure. Hally launched in February of 2021, and we're really on a mission to create a better, more fun, more gentle way to color your hair at home.
Awesome. Before you got into this business, you were working at Walmart. What was it that you saw happening that made you think, hey, there's an opportunity in this space? Because I guess I'm someone who, yes, when I was younger, I'd use the at-home hair dye, but I didn't realize that was still a trend. People were still doing that. Obviously it is. What were you seeing happening?
Yeah, sure. So my background's actually been in marketing. So I spent 12 years in different marketing jobs, and I was running marketing for Jet Black, which is like the premium offshoot of Jet, owned by Walmart.com. And I was actually pregnant and going on maternity leave in September of 2019 with my daughter. And that summer, I had this terrific summer intern named Meredith, and she came in one day super nervous to ask to leave in the middle of the afternoon because she had this horrible at-home hair dye experience and had to go to a salon to get it color corrected. And obviously, I said, Mare, do whatever you need to do. I just couldn't believe that this was still happening. I'm 35. I had a bad run-in with Son in 8th grade 20 years ago. And here was Mare, like exceptionally smart, literally a rising senior at Harvard at the time, from New York City, super with it, could very well afford to go to a salon. But yet the behavior was she and her friends went to CVS and picked up box dye and did it at home while recording TikToks. And, she subsequently fried her hair. So that had happened that summer. And I went out on mat leave and didn't think about it for a bit. But then, I was always job to job to job. Like I never went to business school. So it was really the first time in my life I didn't have Slack and email on my phone. And I just kept like researching the category. It wasn't really like I had this aha moment that I was going to like drop everything and create a hair dye company. But one thing kind of like led to the next, and really just thought that there could be this like interesting opportunity based on the category and the landscape and this like lack of innovation in the space, but yet this huge user behavior, and that over 50% of people color their hair at home, and 70% of girls that are under the age of 30 are doing it, and now 40% of guys. And so I guess like the more I learned, the more it felt like, this could have, all the markers of what could be a successful business. I made a deal with my husband that I was going to give it a shot. I didn't go back to Walmart, and it took me about a year to get stability in the formula before we launched Hally.
Amazing. Okay. You said that there were some indicators there while you were researching. What were some of those things that you found that made you kind of validate that gut instinct that you had that there was an opportunity here?
So I should say my first 2 jobs were in CPG. So my first job out of school was at Pepsi. And then I worked at Unilever on Dove, which was an incredible experience for 3 years. And so I guess I had a good understanding of how these big, companies work, and the like roadblocks that exist within them to really innovate. When I was researching Hally, there have been these like legacy CPG players that own the lion's share of the category, but really haven't innovated both in brand and formulation in a while. And so that was a clear marker that I was very keen to. I was like, okay, this market exists. It's kind of hasn't yet really been disrupted, I guess you could say. And then the other thing, like I said, was just like this user behavior, huge swaths of people coloring their hair, very healthy repeat rate. It's something that once you do once, you can go back if you have good experiences with really high profit margins. So the average, hair color is in the mid 80s. Like to give you context, when I launched Hally, which was at a super, inefficient, low minimum order quantities, like we got to market with a 70% margin. So there
Wow,
was,
okay.
a really great margin to work with. And then I just, became super fascinated with this foam format, which is our first product, our Color Cloud. And it really came from South Korea and Japan. They've had this huge influx of the younger demographic coloring their hair in the last decade just due to the K-pop craze. And they all use a product called Bubble Dye. And Bubble Dye is really just like a foam-based permanent hair dye. And so you can imagine I was just watching all these YouTube videos on my phone in the middle of the night with my, newborn. And I was like, man, this foam is so much easier than like sectioning your hair and mixing and painting on, one by
Hmm.
one. And so that was really the thinking of like, how could I take this? And what took me so long, we wanted to do two things. I wanted to take the harshest ingredients out of hair dye, which are ammonia, PPD, and resorcinol. And then also Hally is, or Color Cloud is a demi-permanent formula. So what that means is it gradually washes out of your hair in about a month, 4 to 6 weeks. And I felt like that was super, super important for like who we were going after, which was like the teenager, young adult. And so that is, what took so long to really perfect it, because there wasn't really a benchmark for us to, just replicate right away. But that's kind of how we launched the first ammonia-free
Awesome.
foam hair dye.
When you were doing all of this, did you raise money to kind of bring a product to market? Did you raise your seed round later? Like, how were you funding it in the really early days?
I was just doing it myself, and there wasn't really a ton of expenditure at first. A lot of like samples, buying, trying, a ton of cold outreach. Like I learned very quickly that starting a color cosmetic or skincare brand is a lot easier. There's just a ton more contract manufacturers in the US. And so it took like a lot of time to get connected with someone that did hair color. And truthfully, I think I emailed 62 people like cold and like was
Mm.
calling. And I was just this like crazy girl that had this hair color idea. And finally, someone wrote me back, and that person connected me to someone else who connected me to this lab who we've been working with since. So I think a lot of it was my own savings that I put into it first to get the formula ready.
And then, so you went on to raise a seed round of 4 million. At what point did you do that?
We did that right after we launched Hally.
Okay.
And so we did that. We launched at the end of February, and I started having conversations with folks in April and closed in June.
I want to talk about the launch marketing. You guys are only about a year and a half old now, so that doesn't seem like it's that long ago. And I feel like it's
Yeah.
super relevant. Whatever you did then, it obviously has worked, because I've been seeing the brand everywhere. Where did you really invest your time and money when you were trying to get the word out about this new business?
So I really focused on brand marketing, and maybe it's because that was,
Yeah.
my background, but
Yeah.
I invested in, I guess you would call it influencer marketing, and then PR. So like we've had Sunshine Sachs as a partner since the beginning. I had a great working relationship from Walmart. And so I think for me, like I carved out, money for inventory and money to help, kind of get some sort of name recognition from Hally. And then I would say where I was light on was just kind of like digital tactics at first. Just because, we didn't have a ton of cash. I begged Sunshine Sachs to give me like a pre-launch date, like rate, which they did because they're amazing partners. And then the other thing was, so our first, I guess, investor is also a friend, and advisor to me. I mean, he's really the one that gave me kind of like the courage to start Hally, is Simon Huck. And so Simon is, incredibly successful and connected in the kind of like celebrity space. So a huge, huge advantage that I had was I spent $5,000 on these boxes that Simon was able to send to his network. And we painfully like illustrated each celebrity's portrait on each box. And I just kept trying to think, these guys get a million and one things a day.
Mm-hmm.
Like what would make them want to share it on Instagram? And I was like, well, why don't we just put their face on it? And so it's less about Hally and it's more about, them and like a portraiture of them. And then of course they opened the box and Hally was in it. And some of them tagged us and some of them didn't, but like it still was incredible exposure. And it wasn't like it sold a ton of product right away, but I think that the dividends that have come from that we're still seeing. And so it's like how a lot of the retailers first noticed us in this like world where everything has to have this immediate ROI. But I do think that if you do brand marketing tactics right, it can really help kind of like build the cool factor of your brand over the long term, which is exceptionally hard to do. The only other thing I'd say that I spent money on was actually our first core SKU, our Color Cloud SKU came with, it still comes with a bag of accessories. So it has this like stress putty and these under eye gels and these, branded clips. And when I was thinking about like, okay, where can I spend money? It's like, wow, I can literally spend like $1 more and have this like very cool end-to-end experience that like maybe people will post more about their hair dye,
Mm-hmm.
experience and tag us at home versus like just trying to get new people on Instagram. So that's where I spent money. And it was actually like one of the things I'm, most happy that I did, because when we first launched, we got so many people like tagging us and posting about their like hair color transformation and then with the like eye gels and doing the putty
Uh-huh.
while the color set. And so I think that really kind of helped us get some initial momentum from real customers, because everyone wants to just understand like, well, how's their hair going to look and what does it look like on, just like a regular person.
The next thing I want to talk about is gaming, and you
Mhm.
are doing some very cool exploration using Roblox and Twitch, and basically gaming as a category as a marketing channel. And this is something that I've been looking into a lot. I've been seeing a lot of the big brands like NARS and Nike
Yeah.
are really investing in like full Roblox experiences. I'm so curious about what's going on there, and it looks extremely expensive and cost prohibitive to like get involved with Roblox. And for folks who are listening to this, just to back up and who are like, what is Roblox? What are you talking about? What is Roblox? How would you explain it?
Roblox is a like I guess a platform you would call it within the like metaverse. I mean, Roblox, there's Twitch, there's Fortnite, so there's lots of different worlds. I mean, it's an app. I highly recommend downloading it on your phone. It was the only way I could like wrap my head around, what this was, because like you, I just read about it so much and it's like in all these headlines or what brands are doing with it, but I didn't quite really get what it meant. And I think I was pretty intimidated by the metaverse too. And how does Hallie, get a part of it that's not, millions of dollars, and what is
Mm-hmm.
the metaverse? And so again, like it's just amazing what you can research online and Google and YouTube. And then so much of like if it was just once I got it on my phone, I was like, oh, this is fine. This is like I played The Sims when I was in middle school. Like
Yeah.
it, like I had a Tamagotchi in my locker that I would go check on. Like
Same.
it's not that different. And so I think once that like initial thing set in, I was like, okay, so there's all these different worlds within the Roblox platform app. And you can go, so like Nike has a world, like Alo Yoga has an amazing sanctuary, Paris
Mm.
Hilton has a world. What we've done with Hallie is we've created some limited like edition collection hairstyles, which obviously tie very closely to our company. But when you go on Roblox, you have an avatar and you can change your hairstyle or your clothes or your accessories. And so it felt like it made so much sense to, spend a little bit more time to develop really cute trending hairstyles based on what was, already in the catalog. And so
Very
that was
cool.
what, yeah, we focused on this summer with our Gamer Girl campaign.
And how do you, and also like, I'm looking at your website again, looking at the Gamer Girl campaign and how it's visually represented. It's like very cute, very pixelated, like
Yeah.
retro feel. I just feel like it at the same time feels futuristic and retro. And I just think people need to get an idea about like this aesthetic that you're going for. Because once you like see how it visually ties in, it kind of like really clicks about what you're doing here. So you said that you had, styles for the avatars. How does someone go about actually doing that? Because it sounds like a really scrappy way to get involved in this space without building out $1 million experience that like Nike
Yes.
or Aloe Yoga has done. How do you create that hairstyle in Roblox? If somebody else, maybe they want to do like a lipstick or an outfit or like something like that, how do you go about doing that?
Sure. There are what's called UGC creators within Roblox, and no one really knows exactly when they're going to open up the application for new ones. But right now, according to my, internet research, it looks like there's around 100 or 150 of them that exist that Roblox corporate has given them kind of this badge that like we allow you to be a creator to upload to our catalog. It's then, vetted in some sort of approval and then it's published for anyone, to have access to. So actually, Hally couldn't just upload hairstyles as I learned, the more I learned about it. And so we were like figuring out how we could get in contact with a UGC creator. And so a lot of it just was like DMs. And also there's like a platform called Discord that a lot of gamers use for messaging, and Twitter DMs. And finally, we got in contact with one or two of them that thought it was cool. Those are who, we've worked with at Hally to start our hairstyle collection. We think that there's a lot of fun to be had in bringing trending hairstyles into the metaverse, in a timely way. So like the first 5 that we launched were inspired by Coachella and celebrities at the Met Ball or trending shows like Euphoria. So like very culturally relevant styles that girls are wearing in real life and bringing that, to the metaverse as well in gaming.
Oh, that is so cool. So many people that I speak with who are reaching Gen Z, their TikTok is a main strategy, and that's awesome. But hearing something that feels like quite new and innovative, and I don't think we've had this conversation on the podcast before. So I think what you guys are doing is awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. And I mean, just for anyone else out there, I mean, it wasn't like I started Hally knowing that we were going to go into gaming, but I think once you like find anything that like tends to have some sort of momentum, like there's usually like an insight behind it, right? And from a digital media perspective, TikTok does great for us, non-brand search does great for us. And actually, like some of the in-app gaming advertising was performing like at a much more efficient CAC for us. And so that really is what got me thinking of like, who is this gamer? And like if it's working for us on paid, like is there more that we can do more from a brand perspective? So that's really how I became much more interested in the vertical.
Yeah, because I feel like when you think about the persona of a gamer, I think that the image that comes to mind isn't actually accurate at all. And I think that's why you guys had so much success. We were talking before we started recording about how when you were researching this, your idea about who a gamer is has actually like changed so much. And that's what made you realize, this is a space that Hally or like beauty brands can play in.
Yes, absolutely. Like I definitely had, my own kind of like perception of who games just because, I don't do it, but I'm also old. When I relax, like I'll watch, Netflix or a streaming show, and a lot of Gen Z actually games. And so I think that it also is not just this like super alternative persona either. Like I think the more we learned is that there's a ton of women, and there's a ton of women that care about beauty and have a beauty routine, and they play with their hair and their makeup. And it's really just a place that I think it makes a ton of sense for personal care brands to be.
Are there any other kind of personal care or beauty brands that you think are doing interesting stuff in this gaming space?
Yeah, I think they're, who am I forgetting right now?
I'm really curious about like who's doing stuff in there because it doesn't sound as crowded as a lot of the other channels that I'm speaking. I'm speaking to beauty brands and they're kind of going to the same social media channels and media outlets and influencers, and it sounds like a really interesting space.
It's just on the tip of my tongue.
We'll come back to it. I know that you've also done like Twitch influencer gifting, and I want to understand how that strategy works and how you approach that.
So Twitch is interesting. So just so you understand what it is, Twitch is a platform that you record yourself while playing games. And so if you're on Twitch, there's this whole interface where you can actually see like you're on Zoom with someone and while they're playing their games and kind of like learn, tips or tricks that they do. And then with Roblox, the big gamers there stream their Roblox, they record it and then they stream it to YouTube. There's kind of two different things. There's the Twitch interface, and then there's Roblox YouTube. And so with the other interesting thing is the Twitch user is slightly older than the Roblox user. So Twitch, you'll see more, I don't know, 20 to 35, and then Roblox is a lot of like 13 to 25. So it's like a younger demographic. And so with Twitch, we worked with some influencers to do a live dye where they dyed their hair while playing their games to their audience. And
awesome.
Then next week we're working with Leah Ash, who is a big Roblox influencer, and so she's going to be doing it on her YouTube channel. So that's where her community is. But yeah, it's been really interesting to kind of get in the grooves of both of them, and they have different viewerships as well. The brand that I had been following that was on the tip of my tongue, it was Benefit. And so Benefit's actually done some really neat stuff in the gaming space, and was one that I had read about before we did our campaign.
Okay, that's a great one for people to go and look up if they want to get some more case studies on this. When you're talking about influencer partnerships in this space, is the cost like the same as partnering with like a regular YouTube influencer or an Instagram influencer? Is it less? Is it more? Like, how do you see the ROI and the costs associated in that space compared to, say, like the social media channels I might be more familiar with?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, they're still very expensive if they have huge viewership. And I think what for us has been interesting is even if they're at parity on like their rates, their engagement seems to be quite high because it's not as infiltrated as like a brand space yet. So I think that like you don't realize as a person that like you subconsciously start thinking that like everything is paid, right? Like even on Instagram now, like
So true.
Even if you're
It
not,
is.
yeah, yeah, you're like, even if you don't, say this is a paid partnership, like there's something about it that has that feeling. And I think that Gen Z is like grew up with this, like they're very astute to it. TikTok still has that like raw authenticity. Like they have a few years probably ahead until it becomes much more of a paid branding space. And I would say gaming is the same. Like, yes, some of them do some partnerships, but it's not quite to like the flywheel of like there are so many of them and like your brain kind of just shuts off, like you're like, oh, this is paid, so I think that definitely has helped, like for us and what we've seen from just engagement traffic on the site, like people coming is much higher than like some of the influencers we've worked with from Instagram.
Yeah, interesting. And I want to ask you very specifically for a resource for folks who want to learn more about gaming and advertising in this space. Like where are the good places to go to kind of figure all of this out, aside from obviously like going in those spaces themselves?
I am the first one to just tell you that you can learn so much from just the internet. Like I literally learned everything about Hally, like how contract manufacturing work. Like I just watched YouTube videos, and the same thing came with gaming. Like I think you can read a ton about like what big brands are doing, but then also like the best thing that, I mean, maybe it's just the way that my brain works, but was just kind of like creating logins myself. Like I have a Discord username, I have a Roblox one, I have one on Twitch, and like just play around with it and see kind of what's happening. And then that way you can kind of understand more what different things like you might be able to do. Like even with Roblox, like I knew there was all these worlds because there had been so many stories about, like Ad Age or, some, media around big brands doing like whatever Pepsi or Nike was doing in Roblox. But like, I think what Forever 21 is doing is really cool. Like they're building out this like whole catalog of their clothes with UGC creators. And for me, I was like, that seems like something that Hally could probably do too. That's
Yeah.
not so like cost intensive. And so I don't know if that's helpful, but there wasn't like one
That's super
single
helpful.
resource. I just think
If
that
you wanted to partner with a UGC creator like that, like what is like the approximate cost? Is there any benchmark that you think, okay, you should set aside at least this budget if you want to do something like that?
I think it depends on like it just depends on the time for the development. So actually hair is harder than like accessories, but you can do it for a few $100 up until like a few $1,000s. Like it's not,
Very cool.
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Amazing. Kathryn, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been very interesting.
Yeah, of course. It's great to be here.